Our advertisers help sponsor our content so we can keep bringing it to you for free. Ads not read by me, Mary Payne, do not necessarily reflect the views of Pink Shade. If you prefer to hear the show completely ad-free, head on over to patreon.com/pinkshademonkeys and subscribe. Hey everybody, welcome to Pink Shade. It's Mary Payne and it's Thursday, and that means I'm going to talk about Real Housewife Ultimate Girls Trip, Season 3, Episode 3, Don't Rock the Boat. And I've got my friend Ryan Bailey here. As you guys know, we're trying to do a new thing on Thursdays. We're going to do Ultimate Girls Trip. We're going to talk about Bravo. Probably tonight I'm only going to have a chance to talk about Ultimate Girls Trip because when you start talking to Ryan, it goes in 100 directions. Ryan, as you know, is the hardest working man in podcasting. How you doing, Ryan?
I'm tired, Mary Payne. I'm tired. I mean, there's a lot of TV happening right now, as we just talked about. We're in the trenches.
Mm-hmm.
This between Vanderpump Rules, Ultimate Girls Trip, Real Housewives of New Jersey. I mean, there's just so much going on. I mean, the Scandival. There's too much happening right now, let alone our personal lives. And but I'm thrilled to be here. This is the time that I feel most like myself is when I'm talking on a podcast. So I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled to talk about these wacky ladies.
Oh my gosh. Well, you and I were just talking about, this is what we do for our job. So we don't get to watch things for fun. And you're saying you're in Yellow Jackets again.
Yes.
You're not sure how you feel. And I was saying,
I love the first season so much. The first season blew me away. And I was so I was in message boards. I was on Reddit thread. I don't usually even go on Reddit, but I was so oh, what are they going to do? How are they going to do this? So it's really interesting with shows like that because your imagination sometimes is strong. You'll sometimes be like, well, I wouldn't have done it that way. You're like, oh, that's what they decided to do. Or that's who they decided to cast because this show got our imaginations going so much that it's really hard when a show is this loved this quickly. It's bound to have small disappointments. And we're only 2 episodes in, and I've only seen one of those episodes because life has been crazy. But I just remember a couple moments with Yellow Jackets where I was like, oh, come on. And I don't know why I was Monday morning quarterbacking it, but it was I wouldn't have done that. But I think it's because I loved it so much.
It's so much symbolism and so much Greek mythology and all this stuff tied in. So I will plug our friends Kimberly and Katie are doing on Sunday nights. They're doing a recap of the episode. So they've now done it on YouTube.
I love day-to-day. That's awesome. I mean, I could.
So I'm going to tell you something. You go over there to that YouTube that they're doing. They're doing 2 hours about a 1 hour show, and it's all the people in the chat rooms and all the theories and everything. And they have gone completely down the rabbit hole into Middle Earth. with all the theories and everything. They know everything. So if anybody wants to watch a recap show, that's what you should do.
No, but that's the thing is that I just want to know, I want to be assured that the creators know exactly what they're doing. I want them to make sure that they have answers for everything because if you remember the TV show Lost on ABC, I
can't talk about Lost. I didn't watch Lost. This is what Kimberly and Katie do, and I'm screaming. Yeah.
They painted themselves into a corner, and they didn't have answers for some of the things that they set up. So it was so exciting, but then in the course of the series, they never truly answered everything. And it wasn't cute, oh, that's a mystery. It was annoying where you're like, come on, you can't set up the rules of the show and then don't give us a payoff. And it was still I love Lost so much. But that's the thing that scares me is I'm starting to we're meeting new characters in the cabin and Yellow Jackets. And I'm like, please be good. I need it to be good. Cause I want to believe that these people know exactly how to make an amazing show for the next 5 seasons.
Well, Katie and Kimberly will tell you that these are not new people in the cabin. They were there all along. They just never had any lines. They never had any lines.
They were always just ducking down in the dark. No, I mean, I understand that but it's just funny now that they have lines. And I'm like, okay. And that show captivated me so much last season. And I was so looking forward to it coming back again. So listen, there's just so much good television right now, and it's really great because I love scripted television, and it takes shows like
Yeah.
that to remind me because we're watching so much reality.
Right. Exactly. And that's like I haven't gotten to Succession yet, and I just gonna have to like savor it for like a what
Oh,
day
so
it will be. I
beautiful.
don't know. Yeah. So they've done a couple of episodes, yes, or did they put the whole
Yeah,
thing
two
out?
two episodes, and I will tell you that it's so I love it when a show like I Sunday night I was with my parents and I was in a really weird mood and I started watching it and it just wasn't hitting for me. And I
Mm,
was like, this doesn't feel, and I realized I was just insanely tired. So I was like, you know what? Let's not do this. And I finally watched it yesterday. And I was so glad I watched it with more rest because I just loved it so much. The writing is so precise, the character,
hmm.
like, the characters are so good, and each line, each kind of thing, I don't even care about the overall plot. It's just the dialogue and these characters interacting with each
Yeah,
other. To me, it's just so beautiful, and you're like, oh wow, this is really TV at its best.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. The dialogue, the writing on that show is incredible. I mean,
Just
Kieran
like
Culkin.
Ultimate Girls Trip,
Yeah,
really great writing. I mean, really just amazing. The interaction between the ladies. This is what you pay for.
I had Julie and Brandy on last week, and
Yeah.
they hate Leah McSweeney. Leah Sweet, what's her name? McSweeney.
Leah
Leah. They
McSweeney.
hate.
Leah McSweeney from
I know.
Roman.
I
Yeah.
know you love her. You're in love with her, but
No, no, I've taken a turn.
you've taken a turn. Well, they hate her. Like they hate her so bad. And so I would like to apologize to my listeners that do have whatever that PMS disorder is. Apparently, it is a real situation, and we just turned on it because Leah said it. So we were against it because Leah said it. But for those of you out there who have that real premenstrual syndrome that she has, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
Yeah, but
besmirch
do
your
do we really
illness. Yeah.
believe that's? I mean, I hate to be a guy saying this, but do we really believe like she was just saying like some really jerky things, and Leah said really jerky things in the past. So I'm curious if she then said that just because she saw the reaction was so bad towards it.
Hmm.
Like, how are you going to say that you don't care? I mean, I get that Alexia talks a lot, but how are you going to say you don't care about like this story about your husband being gay? It's so boring. How are
And then
you
he
going to say
died.
that?
Well, who
Yeah.
cares? He's
How are
dead.
you?
Ugh.
She's like, it's boring. Come on, move on. Like, that's wild to me. Like, if you're going to be a jerk, then you're going to be treated like a jerk. And like Leah has not. The first episode, I really liked Leah on Ultimate Girls Trip, and she's like
Mhm.
taken a real big nosedive since.
Okay, well, so I've only watched up to episode 3 because I'm watching it like Yellow Jackets, like Succession. I'm watching it like it's on my TV, so I've only watched up to episode 3. But I was like arguing back and forth with Julie and Brandy because obviously she didn't leave from throwing elephant poop at somebody because she didn't, and that didn't happen. But I said I do still think she leaves, but we don't know why. Is that true?
Yeah, I mean, if you see the trailers, you see that there's a medical issue that happens, and
Hmm.
I do believe she leaves early. But also, I mean, I can't speak to this if I'm going to be 100% correct, but I think, and if you listen to any interviews past, nobody truly liked Leah except for
Right.
Candiace a little bit,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
so I think there was no love lost. I think part of it was a medical condition, and part of it was it just wasn't going well for her. But
Hmm.
we also know, at the end of the first episode, you see a flash forward to Candiace and Giselle getting into it. Like they all start tearing each other. By the way, very much like Yellow Jackets. On the fourth episode, they start eating each other. It's cannibalism all over again. Like it's this pressure cooker situation. So, but yeah, Leah's coming off really bad. And that
Yeah.
says something for a Housewives show. And it's just like, dude, I mean, I don't know if it's PMS like she's saying, but it's like, listen, you're getting paid to be there. Like, I don't know, if you're going to say that kind of like bold thing, make sure you really back that up and don't like go, like make sure like if you're making a move, a housewives move, make sure it's a lot more clear than what you did because it just came off like a jerk and you just came off bored. And why are we going to want to watch somebody that's bored? You know?
Yeah, and I'm also sad kind of overall, just the 3 episodes I've watched, that overall Heather is coming off horrible because I was kind of hoping for the redemption of Heather Gay, but she's still coming off horrible, and I'm
Oh
like, well, I guess
God.
next season will be her redemption season on Salt Lake. I was thinking she was going to
You
have
know
on
what?
Salt Lake like I'm a drunk season, like I'm a drunk and I need help. But nope,
Okay.
she's still continuing on this girls
Oh
trip.
yeah, give it. Yeah, I mean, I think she's not going to have a redemption season next season. I mean, listen, we know from this show, Heather and Whitney are uber fans of the Housewives, and I think
Hmm.
that's also something that Bravo and reality shows in general need to watch of putting fans on these shows,
Hmm.
because then they're looking at it in a totally like, this isn't Survivor. This is Real Housewives. Stop turning it into a competition show. I want to see human behavior. I mean, I want to
Hmm.
see like Heather's like in there going, "Oh my God, I'm with All Stars right now. Oh my God." Like, stop
Yeah.
fangirling, because the reality of that situation too with Heather Gay is that she secretly is a villain. And if she steps into her power, she could be a really solid housewife. Right now, she's playing every angle where in scenes she's all sweet. Well, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing. But in a talking head, she tears these women a new asshole. And so you've
Hmm.
got to marry those two people. But I think if she really leans into it, she could really, really be a very strong housewives villain. But I
Mm.
think she wants to be loved so much that that's
Hmm.
going to play a huge part. But I don't know. I think after this season of Salt Lake, there was just, and reading her book, Bad Mormon, listening to her book. Sorry, I didn't read it, but I just think there's a lot of stuff that I'm like, ooh, you're not exactly who I thought you were.
Yeah. And I think that I think I thought that as well. And no, I did not read her book or listen to it. Who has time?
Listen, I had
Um,
to drive to Arizona. It's a long drive. I had time to kill.
all right, so let's start off this episode. We open with the whole thing of Leah, like we're just saying, like she's bored, and Marysol's like, "You're being rude," and Leah goes, "Don't be mad at me because your stomach hurts and you drink vodka every morning." Now, I'll tell you something. I live with a person in recovery, and people in recovery don't care if you drink vodka in the morning. They think it's great. They just like Leah saying, everybody gets shots. People in recovery are always trying to get you drunk. So this is not a nice recovery thing for Leah to say. She should be like, drink it up if you can, drink until you can't, you know.
I
But
think
that
I
was
think
interesting.
she's grasping at straws. I think she wants
Yeah.
anything that she can use because things are going so poorly for her. But also Marysol, I mean, you don't I know you're going to watch Miami eventually, but like Marysol is like, she's like the reverse Dorinda. Like, she gets hammered as much as Dorinda does, but she's
Hmm.
somehow able to control it. But at the same time, it's this tenuous thread that I keep going like, one of the days you're going to completely crack, because she
Yeah.
just really is just really reveling in the drinking, which is always a wild
Yeah.
stance to take.
Yeah. Yeah, and I had a bunkie reach out to me and said that she wrote Marysol on Instagram to say like, "Oh my gosh, I had an ulcer too. I was hospitalized for this ulcer. I feel so bad for you." And Marysol wrote her back and said, "I didn't have an ulcer. It's from the drinking." She
Marysol, by the
was
way,
like,
I hear Marysol lives in her DMs. Like, I've heard like she does get tons of information she can use on the other ladies. Like, I've had
yeah.
multiple people be like, "Yeah, Marysol will fully answer you."
Yeah, she answered her and it was like, "That's just for story. I don't have an ulcer. It's from drinking." They were right. So, Marysol and Alexia are singing together and talking head, and Marysol says, "Listen about Leah." She goes, "Don't be mad at me just because you had to quit. I don't have to quit. I'm fine. I'm a happy drunk." And Alexia is like, "You are." Alexia is such an enabler. She's like, "You are. You're a happy drunk. Everything's fine. No problem. Nothing to see here. Nothing to see here."
it's
So back at
hysterical.
the table, Giselle is like, Alexia has this really compelling story, and I was enjoying it, and I appreciated it, and I was not bored. And Giselle says, "Leah, if I share a story with you and it's about my life and you say it's boring, like that's not cool." And Leah's like, "Oh, I didn't mean it that way. I didn't mean it that way." And she's like, "I'm sorry." And Portia goes, "Y'all say sorry. That comes quick. That comes quick." But I think if you're only with these women for 7 days, you're not shooting a show. That, yeah, if there's an issue, you got to try to resolve it right then, or it's going to be a long 7 days, you know?
Well, yeah, this is like a pressure cooker situation with this, because it's like, we already think housewives are on steroids, but this is like uber steroids where they need to get as
Yeah.
much content in 7 days as they can. So they're like burning through fights, making up all of this stuff that they don't do on their regular seasons. Like, Porsha will hold a grudge for like 5 seasons in a row.
Yeah. It's like, it's like 5 events a day. And what I really want to see is just them laying by the pool, like chit-chatting, but you're not going to get any of that because every meal has to be an event. So Candiace goes and talks to the Ladyboys who are all waiting. And she says this performance in Thailand for 17 people, as Giselle says, is her next step to pop stardom. Now Marysol's on the side talking to the staff paramedic who's got a real Southern accent for some reason. About her burning upper stomach. And he says, have you been drinking a lot? Are you drinking a lot on an empty stomach? And she's like, no. What? No. Meanwhile, we could show all the clips of her going, well, I drink all day. Like, it's not a problem.
Yeah.
And the paramedic's going to look into getting her a shot or some meds. So the Ladyboys start to perform. One of them falls right away. And then Candiace comes out and lip syncs her song. Now, the whole time I'm like, oh my God, is she going to fall? Is she going to fall? But the lip sync, the track cuts out. And Leah, we see a talking head, Leah, Giselle, and Porsha all saying Candiace's outfit looks like a loofah. And Heather references Ashley Simpson on SNL, which shows you Heather is old like me.
But I literally was impressed. I was impressed. I was like, look at her. She had no practice with these Ladyboys. Like, like I'm like, listen, I would have died of embarrassment. And she's out there. Like, I mean, I don't know. Like, it's no Beyonce, but I mean, who knows? Maybe Beyonce started out this way with Ladyboys lip syncing. I'm like, this is what it takes to really like take every moment you can of like, yes, my song can be on television. Hell yeah, I'll do it. I mean, there really is this kind of like, I've had a weird relationship with Candiace over the years in terms of Potomac, but I kind of am like, good for you. Like, take every moment you can if you love to do this.
Yeah, it's good self-promo. I mean, how many times we got to see skinny girl on a snowboard or a car or anything, so yeah, why not? So now they're on the buses on the way home, and Heather is drinking vodka just out of a wine glass. And Marysol's like, I'm so sorry that I can't drink with you. It's terrible. And Heather's like, it's okay. Go ahead and drink. What'd the doctor say? Now, in the other bus, Giselle says Candiace is not an initiator of drama or pettiness or whatever. She's a responder. So I was surprised that she did all those names. I take your man and all that stuff. And then they all limp up to the hill to the house, which would be me. I'd have those shoes off, especially the shoes Candiace was wearing. I'd have those shoes off. I would be limping up to the house.
Oh, dude, I don't know how these ladies made it past day 3. I mean, it's like exhausting. Like, and then to throw that much alcohol on top of that in a foreign country. I mean, I'm not even some of these ladies' ages, and I can't do what they're doing. Like, this is like Coachella in a way, where you're putting your body. You're putting your body through all of this on top of like extreme anger, extreme laughter, it's all extreme. Their diet's all messed up because Pepsi's throwing every food in the book at them. It's just got to be a mess.
Yeah. I really would like to know the origin of Pepsi's name. Like, did he name himself that from American television?
I think he saw a Pepsi commercial on TV and was like, I'm Pepsi now. So the next morning, Pepsi's asking Marysol about her stomach, and she says, I'm testing out these meds to see if they're okay. And he lets Alexia know that he's talked to his friend at the harbor. They're going to have a gorgeous sunny day. And Alexia says, great for a yacht party. I'm bringing the Miami to Thailand. And he's like, you guys can snorkel. You can see, none of this happened, but he's like, you can snorkel, you can see dolphins, all this. So, Ingrid, who you call Isabel, which we still think is hilarious. Ingrid, my producer, that you always call Isabel. Dude, I'm so sorry, Ingrid. I'm so sorry.
No, it's a joke now. We love it. So we'll call her Isabel for purposes of this. She recapped the first episode with me, and she looked up the weather at the exact time when they were there, and it's like 99% humidity, 99% chance of rain every day. Like, it is it literally says on the tourism site, the worst month to go is when they went.
I do not do good with humidity. I can't do humidity.
That oppressive heat and the humidity. And so, okay, so he says they're going to be great for a yacht party. Of course, they get there and it's like raining the whole time. But Marysol's like, oh, bro, I'm so bummed that I don't feel good because I want to give them all the bro show. And the bro show would be great. And we would sell more tickets than the Candiace show.
I love how they call each other bros. I love it.
Bro. And so having never seen Miami, I picked up on that on the first episode when she's like, bro. Yeah. So I didn't know, like, bro is the whole thing. It's hilarious. Then we see Heather putting self-tanner up her ass crack and sending drive back. I was like, why are you doing that, girl? Why are you doing that? Now, Leah's in bed the next morning and Pepsi comes in and she's saying, I stayed up all night because I had Red Bull and a cigarette for dinner. Like, what do you think's going to happen? And he brings her breakfast and he's like, do you want to know how long you have? And she's like an hour. He's like, okay, 15 minutes, 15 minutes. But Leah is pretty low maintenance. She's not trying to put the glam on his stuff, like for some of these other ladies, but she's sort of like me. She could throw it in a ponytail and go. And she puts on her
Yeah.
tiny bikini. She's good to go.
But Leah seems like she like vacillates from giving a shit to not giving a shit at all. Like it's wild. Like I sometimes can't get a read on Leah because you're right. She is one of those people who are like, let's just get up and go. But then if something doesn't go her way, she's like extremely conscious about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Leah is an anomaly. So Candiace is explaining to Pepsi. She's talking about spilling the tea. She's explaining to Pepsi about the tea, about the hot. He's like, oh, I get it. Like hot tea. Okay, I get it. So Giselle and Whitney are talking about Leah being rude as fuck the night before. And as they're talking about her, Leah walks in. And Giselle says, truth be told, I did Project Runway with Leah and I liked her. And I don't know why she's acting like this is not the Leah that I met. Candiace walks in with the most ridiculous giant hat you have ever seen. And they load up in the vans and Pepsi's going with them. Was it Marysol that said she brought this same hat? But didn't want to take it out of the suitcase?
I believe so. Yeah, but this hat is like the shape of the iceberg that hit the Titanic. It's like, and they said like, I really did wonder, like, how did she bring this over? Like, how do you pack this hat?
I think maybe it's the kind of material that a lot of hats where you could roll it up. Yeah, you could roll it up, but that's
okay. I'm like, there's no technical way this could happen.
We're talking about it, so it made a splash, but it's ridiculous. All right, so in the one van, Marysol, Giselle, Porsha, and Alexia ask Marysol, since you're just observing, I guess that means like since she's not drinking, what have you deserved? And Marysol says, Leah has odd behaviors. And Porsha says, yeah, it's like she wants attention, but as soon as she gets it, she's like, I'm sorry. And she doesn't want attention. And then she plays the victim. This is day 2. And Porsha says, Leah really is not interested in bonding with any of us. She's irritated by everyone. You could tell she doesn't want to be here. And she said she doesn't want to be here, which is not what she said in defense of Leah. She said, I kind of didn't want to come. That's what she said. Now, in the other van, Leah just sort of throws out as an aside, my parents kicked me out when I was 17. So since I turned 30 and have a kid, and then she said something like, I'm sort of reliving these times or something. Anyway, she says she's ready to turn up. I was like, okay, all right. So they get to the yacht. The yacht is called, so they were calling it a yacht. Diana Jenkins may call it a boat, but it did appear to be. It's just a boat. It's a yacht. It's a day trip. For your eyes only. The hat, everyone's annoyed by the hat. And Marysol says about the hat. Porsha says that Candiace looks like a thumb with a tent on top. She's like, that hat is everywhere. It's a no. It's a no. So Pepsi says, okay, I'm leaving. And he's like, and they laugh. Does anybody want to come with me? And Porsha immediately is like, Leah, why don't you go back with him since you don't want to be here anyway? And Leah's like, wait, I get it. Okay, so everybody's going to pile up on me. I get it. And everybody's mad at me because I said I was bored. And she says, this is toxic and low vibration. And this is in her talking head. And Candy's like, yes, really it's low vibrational plates.
Vibration lately. Oh, I hate that word lately. Those words.
I understand what it means if you're into.
No, I understand it. It's just one of those new. But it's just one of those new things that you're hearing all over. It's like gaslighting, or like it's. I feel like we're already going to overuse this eventually.
Yeah, and Candiace tries to jump in. She's like, "That's right. It's low vibrational plates." Yes. I was like, okay, y'all, all right. So everyone says it's a beautiful yacht, whatever. And then Giselle says, hey, Leah, are you good? Now it started to rain, so they put the cover up. And Giselle says, Leah, are you good? Last night, that was strange. And Leah says, well, you asked like if I even want to be here. I feel like that was kind of shady because I admitted to you that like I had a bad last season on New York and that I was hesitant to come on the trip. So I admit something to you and then you turn it on me. And Porsha was like, well, you want to know why she asked you that? And that's why I joked about it. It's because, girl, you are acting like you want to go home. And then Leah's like, what? And she's like, girl, you're wild as hell. Okay. So then we get this trope that we're going to get ding, ding. Round 1, Leah versus Giselle and Porsha. So Giselle says, you said at the table last night you were bored. And Leah's like, I was bored. And Giselle says, and then you told us just to get drunk and take shots. Like we are your drunk monkeys or something. Like we're not entertaining to you unless we are drunk. And Leah goes, yeah, exactly. At least she's being honest. And then it's ding, ding, round 2, Leah versus Marysol. Leah says, before this trip even started, Marysol was texting me and saying she supports my sobriety, but she sure wishes I was still drinking. And Alexia goes, well, listen, you live in the real world and people are going to make jokes about that. And Leah's like, no, people don't joke about that. And Giselle and Porsha were like, you asked us a question, and so we answered. And Porsha goes, and then now you threw Marcel under the bus. Giselle's like, Marysol. Oh my God. And Leah's
Marysol
like,
the shell, yeah.
Marysol. And she goes, Leah says, Marysol, you telling me that you wish I was still drinking is not nice. Marysol goes, I applaud your sobriety. I've already said I couldn't do it. And then her talking head,
We
Leah's
know.
like, we know. Marysol goes, Leah says, Marysol, if you could wait until afternoon for the vodka, try some eggs for breakfast, try some breakfast. And then Marysol in her talking head with her, sparkly
Cocky
martini glass. Yeah, it goes, is there a schedule? If I'm parched, I drink.
Dude, I love, see, there is so funny. You cannot, you could say Marysol's an alcoholic all day long and she'll be like, I like to drink. It doesn't even wound her at all. There's nothing that Marysol, that is funny because usually, a thing like that would hurt somebody. It does not hurt Marysol at all, or at least you cannot. So it doesn't wound her at all. So it's a really interesting thing. I've never seen somebody be completely cool with continually being called an alcoholic.
She does not care. She's like, I'm living my life. Who cares? And then she's like, nobody's told me to quit yet, so I don't have to. which isn't really how it works, but that's okay. So Leah says, okay, fine. I'm sorry. Nobody likes me. I'll just sit here. And the Porsha goes, oh, now you're the victim. And it's ding, ding, round 3. Leah versus Porsha. And Candiace is like, I think this is bullying. And this is when Heather goes, all I've ever dreamed about is being with these big all-stars. And here I am, a front row seat. I'm watching it. I'm so glad. No shots are being fired at me. I was like, not yet. So Marysol's like, I'm going to find the bartender. She says, I'm going to find comfort in a bottle. She doesn't give a shit. And then she's like,
no, she really
to the bartender's pouring it. And she goes, very little pineapple, not much ice. Let me make it. Basically, I need a full glass full of hot vodka. No ice, no pineapple. Don't mix it. Let's be honest. So then Candiace says, you guys, Leah apologized. Let's all just move on. Let's just harping on this dumb shit. And Leah comes out from the bathroom. Is like, thanks a lot, everybody. All this arguing gave me my period. This, by the way, Ryan, I know you're a guy.
Is that I had a question for you. Can that happen? Can arguing with ladies start your period? Is that how it works?
No. Now, if you're around a bunch of ladies for about a month or so, your periods will all sync up. You'll cycle up.
Yes. Okay.
But not after 2 days. After 2 days, your period will not be forced upon you by arguing women. No, not a
okay.
fact.
I was like, this is like a scientific journal or something I can read? Because I was like, I'd never heard this before.
No, I'm here for your period needs. And Marysol's like, why do we need to know that? Gross. And then Marysol says, who gets a period anymore? That's so 1980s. I haven't had a period in a decade. Jesus. So funny. Now, I think what she's trying to refer to, now she's of menopausal age, so she hasn't had a period because of that. But I think what she means is you can now these days take a pill so you don't even get your period. Or you can do an implant in your arm and you never get a period and you don't ovulate, and then period doesn't really have to be a thing anymore.
Well, I did not know that.
But
the other thing about this though is they all are tag teaming Leah, which is great. But Leah, you can kind of even see it in her face of, that's what the cool thing about the Ultimate Girls Trip is. You really get to see people get pummeled on that they're not used to it. They're used to their own cast, or Leah's used to Ramona pummeling. But there was a moment when she was looking at Porsha and Giselle going back at her, and she looked like she was like a boxer that got rope-a-doped. She was just like, whoa. It was really she had to literally walk off to gather herself.
Yeah. She went standing in the hot tub unbothered. So as for she walks back off to talk about her, Candy's like, y'all bullied her into menstruation. And they're like, what is wrong with her? And Candiace goes, she has anxiety. And then Candiace tells them that she also has a lot of stress and anxiety since she's been there. She's been calling her mom every morning. They've only been there one night, calling her mom every morning. But I also have to factor in the 2 days of traveling. They had to get there, She says, I've been calling my mom every morning. And they're like, why? Oh my gosh, Candiace, what's wrong? And they're totally sympathetic to Candiace. And she goes, because I'm far away from home and I feel alone. And it's hard for me sometimes to be around people I don't know. And I just don't think it's fair. You're making Leah into a villain for just voicing what she's feeling. Like, I'm telling you, I've been feeling the same thing. And Porsha goes, okay, so you say you don't like being around people you don't know, but your event was the fucking shadiest. Now Candiace has just got her napkin corner, just jabbing right into her.
Yeah, ready. Yeah, ready.
Ready. She's got her napkin corners and she's ready. Then we get ding ding, round 4. Porsha versus Candiace. Candiace goes, look, it was just a fun, shady game. And Porsha goes, okay, is that how you get comfortable around other people? Is to make other people feel uncomfortable? And Candiace says, why did you feel uncomfortable? Did you feel uncomfortable? Did you feel uncomfortable?
She's like, everyone loved the game.
Porsha and Giselle hated the game, obviously. And they're like, we didn't like the game. And then Candiace goes, Porsha, you know, I'm protecting how you're dealing with anxiety and you're putting it onto me. You're projecting it. You're projecting it. And Porsha goes, that's a buzzword to say projected. That's a buzzword to say projected. What about low vibration? It's another buzzword. And she goes, it doesn't apply here. And Porsha goes, now wait, now I came over here to comfort you, and now you're gaslighting me. And it's another buzzword. And they just go back and forth. They go back and forth. And so in the talking head, Porsha goes, housewives do not have good histories on yachts. We just need to stay on land. And they show all these flashes of when Porsha and Cynthia and Ramona and Sonia clinging and Carol vomiting. And so then Heather says, yeah, I support my friends no matter what. Like, I have friends that are alcoholics, but I funnel drinks to them all the time if they ask me to.
I was like, what? Like,
and Leah goes, Heather... What? Leah goes, that's not being supportive. That's being an enabler if your friend has told you they're an alcoholic. And Candiace goes, so you support your friend even if it's to their detriment. And Heather goes, obviously.
Like, see, I mean, I will say that, like, Heather is wacky in how she views ride or die friendships. We see it with Jen Shaw. We see it right here again, where it's like, yo, girl, like, even in her book, there's a couple moments where you're like, what? Like, I don't know where she learned the concept of friendship, but like, friendship doesn't mean you kill people for those people. Like, it doesn't mean you put them in danger. It doesn't mean, and it really, she's like, wears it with this badge of a badge of pride, and I don't understand that about her, because I can't tell if she's trying to impress these other girls or this is just truly how she is.
It is like so you're just a doormat. You just to your own detriment, you'll just do whatever to take a bullet. Yeah. So they go inside and they're going to eat Cuban food because this is Alexia's, Cuban day, and they play a game and they learn Spanish phrases and curses. And Giselle says, as always, Giselle just getting it in there, stirring the pot. She goes, hey, Heather and Whitney, now you two said last night you pinky promised you are not going to talk about your issues on camera. And they go, no, we didn't say that, but they are agreeing that we're 50-50 at fault for what happened like last season on Salt Lake. And Heather goes, did we say 50-50? Are we saying 50-50? And Leah goes, oh, Whitney, you were talking shit about Heather. You know she still has her name on that Mormon thing. So you don't even know why she's got that book coming out, and you don't really trust her. And Heather's like, what the fuck? No, Heather has never looked worse. She's a hot, sweaty mess. Her hair is half up. Her sunglasses, she's dripping sweat, which I would be too.
No, I would.
Horrible. So then it's like ding, 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 bell rings, round 5, Whitney versus Heather. So Heather is yelling and was like, how many years have you considered yourself not a Mormon? And Whitney goes 10. And Heather goes, so you just got your name removed from the rolls like 6 months ago. So why are you condemning me for something that you've also experienced? Whitney says, when I first tried to leave, I sat down with the local authorities who told me it was not in my best interest for me to leave, so they would not release my name from the records. But today what you can do is get a group of attorneys that do it for you.
I had to sit down with the local authorities. Yeah, it's so...
I imagine that's true, that it's now that it's come into its own, that you can get your name removed from the rolls. But back when she tried to do it, when she first got together with her husband, they were like, yeah, even though you're a cheating whore, you still need to stay on our rolls, right?
Yeah, completely. I mean, but I will say, I mean, Whitney does have like a point too about like she's making an like Heather literally like gives away every secret of Mormonism in her book, you know? Like,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
stuff that you're really not supposed to talk about. Like, and I have Mormon friends, and like it's very
yeah,
sacred what happens in the temple. And
right.
Heather like just fully puts it in the book, and there is like it is wild. I'm like, girl, like you don't have to believe in the Mormon church, like, but it's she spends the first 3 quarters of the book saying like how it shaped her life, and then it's like I met Andy Cohen, peace out, God. Like it's really that it's weird.
Listen, I watch Big Love. I think I know everything about the Mormon Church after watching Big Love. That's where I get my
Oh,
information.
I love Big Love.
Um, so all right, so it's the group of attorneys. Okay, so Whitney says, taking your name off the Mormon roll means to other Mormons that you basically don't exist. And Heather says, well, I've been reluctant. Heather in her talking head says, I've been reluctant to do it because it just seems flippant. It seems petty. So I've been reluctant to do it. Talking head, Whitney says, having your name on the roster means you're supporting the church because they count your name when they lobby for bills or they buy properties or they buy temples. And I was like, Whitney sometimes really does come off as a dum-dum, but then sometimes you're like, Whitney's really smart.
It's her
You
voice, and
know?
that's why everybody underestimates her because it's such a light, staticky voice. And
Yeah.
Whitney makes such a great point, but also Heather makes such a horrible point, and it would seem flippant. Like I don't know. Well, is a book revealing all of the Mormon Church's secret flippant? Because that seems pretty bad too. You're
That
telling
seems
me
pretty petty.
Yeah, I was like, well,
Yeah.
that doesn't even like hold a lot of water to me. And that to me is like this riding the fence that Heather Gay does is what, it's just like, have the courage of your convictions. If you're going to talk
Yeah.
shit for like book glory or whatever, then you should be taken off of the rolls. Like it's
Yeah.
not flippant. You've already done the flippant thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I think that's what my problem is with Heather. I think we're sort of, I'm like working it through like it's therapy, is that she stands for nothing. She's a flip
Yes.
flopper.
But she tells you she stands for everything. She
Yeah.
tells you she is the best friend in the world. She tells you she's ride or die. She tells you she has everybody's best interest at heart, not her own. But in reality, what I start to see is that she really has her own best interests and she really does. They really nailed it a couple episodes ago where I think she really cares about social media followers.
Mm-hmm.
I think she really does pay attention. These are superstars. And what's really frustrating when we see in the scene with Whitney is that, like, dude, she is only comfortable yelling at Whitney. She will not step up to any other cast member of Salt Lake or even this group. But with Whitney, she feels very comfortable yelling her down. Like, can you believe this, you guys? Can you believe what Whitney is doing to me? But you never see Heather yelling at anybody else. But Whitney feels really comfortable. And it's not just because they're family and cousins, because believe me, she didn't even find out she was cousins with Whitney until like 4 years ago. So it's not that deep,
Right. Yeah. It's totally not like my first cousin who I grew up with. It's not like
No,
that.
not at all.
Yeah.
They were surprised to find out that they were related when they did a boudoir photography shoot. No, it's like for real.
Oh my God. So the two of them were just going back and forth yelling at each other. And they're talking ahead. Heather goes, we just wrapped the season and we've not even had a reunion yet. And I'm hurt that Whitney would spew these lies. I was like, oh, okay. So I'm kind of getting the timeline of it right. Because it was like the day that Jen Shaw's said she was guilty or whatever, but before her sentencing. So I'm kind of trying to remember the timeline. So Whitney says to the girls, I've been through a really hard time in the last year. It's like I'm realizing my life beyond this religion that I grew up in has been a lie. And then we get, the information that she's had all these repressed memories and she's working through that. And they're like, okay, but what does that have to do with Heather? And Whitney says, I needed you to support me and you wouldn't support me, but you supported Jen Shaw, who's a convicted criminal, an admitted criminal. And Heather goes, I had not supported Jen after I knew what she did. And they're like, yeah, you did. And they said, and you've lied for her and you've covered up for her, just like the black eye. And Porsha says, what does the black eye have to do with Jen? And Heather says, because they think Jen gave me the black eye and I won't squeal on Jen. And Whitney says, she just won't tell us what happened. And Heather goes, I never said she gave me the black eye. I said, I don't recall how I got it. And snitches get stitches. Now, in 2 sentences, she has said, I won't squeal on Jen and snitches get stitches. But then she says, I don't know how it happened. So Giselle says in her talking head, Jen Shaw punched her, right? She's a criminal. She's a criminal. That's what criminals do. They punch people. The criminal punch.
I love Porsha.
So Candiace says, how do you think you got the black eye to Heather? And Heather goes, well, there are a couple of theories. And she's like, well, you were there. So why do you have theories?
It's your eye.
It's your face. It's your eye. And she says, theory one is I was in a separate villa and there was this low hanging cabinet and we were drunk and maybe I bashed it on that cabinet. And theory two is I was roughhousing and maybe I got an elbow to the eye and I just didn't know. Theory two is correct. And so
and she had scratches on her arms too, if you guys remember. There were scratches everywhere.
I think they were allegedly on Molly or something because they were rubbing their boobs all over each other and stuff.
I think there was a lot of different substances involved because I mean, and also, but this is the inconsistencies with Heather is that once again, it's like, guys, like she'll be like, I'm so ashamed at the reunion. I'm just ashamed. And that's why it's like, wait, you're ashamed now. And that's why you're lying about what happened to your eye, but you're fine being on camera, rubbing your tatas with Jen everywhere. Like it doesn't make sense. If you were really ashamed, you'd be like, yeah, you know what? I'm going to leave my top on. Like you would know in the moment. Yeah.
She has three daughters. She has three daughters.
Yeah. Everything seems like it's an excuse and she sells it decently, but still it just doesn't add up when you start actually breaking down her dialogue.
Yeah. And Whitney goes, I went to bed and then I could hear Jen and Heather and Meredith running around drunk. And Porsha goes, so what? So why would you drop this bomb like Jen beat on her? How come you didn't tell us they were running around drunk? Whitney says, we thought Jen did it. We all think that. And Giselle says, I am suntan Barbie sleuth. And I have figured this out. Jen Shaw punched Heather in the face. But if she tells anybody, Jen will get more years in the clinker. So she won't say it because she doesn't want it on her spirit. Suntan Barbie has figured it out. I was like, well, you're not the only one with that theory. I think she just didn't want to make it worse for Jen. Why? When nobody could tell you.
Yeah. That's such a weird relationship. And Jen obviously has used Heather in like multiple ways, but at the same time, Heather allowed herself to be used. And, you'll see Heather too, because I feel like once the new season of Salt Lake, you're going to see that, maybe like the redemption season, like you're saying, but she's going to do that. Like, I was betrayed by Jen. I now she's going to ask us for her, sympathy of like, I was a victim as well. I can already see those scenes going down.
Yes. And I believe my friend when they tell me this, and then, she stabbed me in the heart, how would I know, but because you can read, that's how you can know.
So simple.
So simple. So Heather is outside going, I can't believe she fucked me. I can't believe that. Like, she's like so mad that Whitney is talking about the black eye. And inside, of course, just like I would do, you got a picture of that black eye. And Whitney's like, I have a picture on my phone. And Heather's like, if you're so thirsty to show that picture, that is disgusting. That's disgusting. And Giselle's like, I asked her. I want to see it. So Marysol's like, with her cocky, if it's going to be on the show, just let it be there on the show. You don't have to make it worse. Like I
see that I was like, I feel like a producer should have smacked her at that point. I'm like, no, don't tell her to save it for the show. You do it here on the boat. Like, don't do that. Let's do it right now.
I'm going to be dying to see if at the end they all, see the picture and what they have to say about it and stuff. And I'm sure maybe if you've already seen it, So Heather is outside. She's like, Whitney is just thirsty for all this attention that they're giving her. I mean, this is the pot calling the kettle black. I mean, really. And then Candiace goes, listen, here's the thing. Giselle is a liar. She's a full liar. She just lies right on camera. Like, she accused my husband of sexual assault. Or something inappropriate. Yeah. I was like, well, that's two pretty different things. Sexual assault and something inappropriate. That's pretty bad. And Leah's like, and me saying I'm bored is the worst thing? Like, what? So she goes out to talk to Giselle. And Giselle's like, I wasn't going to talk about this, Candiace. I wasn't going to talk about this because it's going to get messy and I don't want to talk about this. And Candiace goes, okay, you didn't say that. You didn't say sexual assault. Okay, you didn't say that. Okay, you didn't say that. And Giselle's like, I never said sexual assault. I said he made me feel uncomfortable. She's like, but you did. You planted that seed about my husband. You planted that little seed. And then they just kind of go back and forth like, we've squashed it. Why are we still talking about this? I was like, okay, this is how we have to do it. Just move on. It's the Housewives trip. You got to move on. So now Leah and Heather go upstairs and they're getting these ladies are giving them foot massages sort of out of the blue. And Marysol is rocking these maracas, it's a Cuban party. And then they laugh like, what could really give you a black eye? This maraca. This maraca could really give you a black eye. So talking head, Porsha says, on a scale of 1 to 10, the yacht experience was, I need a Xanax. It's just pretty funny. I love. I'm so happy with Porsha back on my screen. So happy.
Yeah, it was I really, she is, you forget how special she is. You know,
Mm,
she's really unapologetically her, and she knows when to stand up for herself. She knows when to ask questions. She knows she's really, really funny, and she's more likable than Giselle overall too. It's like fun to compare them with each. It's fun to compare all the ladies with each other, and
yeah.
you know, it's just that's I'm so glad she was on this season.
So good. She's so good. I loved an episode one. She's like, "Ah, Bravo really wants me back," and they're like, "It's Peacock," and she's
Peacock.
like, "Whatever. Still, they want me back." So, all right. So now they're riding home, and Heather and Whitney are in the same van. They tried not to get in the same van, but they got in the same van. And so now in the other van, Porsha and Giselle and Alexia and Marysol are talking about what Heather said. This like she said she wouldn't snitch and she wouldn't squeal and snitches get stitches. So she knows that Jen did it. She just won't say it. Why would she have said that snitches get stitches comment? And they're all like sleuthing it up just like we've been doing for the last 6 months. Then we get another scene of them trying to walk up the hill. Just sad. They're just limping up the hill. And even Giselle's like, y'all getting all these shots of us walking up this hill. We look like old ladies. So Leah talks to Candiace about Giselle and Porsha. And Leah's like, I'm just going to try to hit the reset button with everybody. Like, I'm going to try to like start over in the morning or whatever. And Candy says, Giselle needs to get checked. And she just needs to know that she just can't talk to Leah any kind of way. And then Porsha and Giselle are sitting on the couch and they give Pepsi a shot of vodka, who then starts humping the air. And they're like, "Oh no, Pepsi, you can't drink with us if you're going to act like that." And I loved on Watch What Happens Live when Porsha said that Pepsi really only liked her. She was like, and then Giselle was like, "I think that's true. I think that's true. He did like you the most." And that's it. And my question for you is, because since you've seen more than I have, do we ever get Housewives After Dark like we got on the last two?
No, no.
Why not? I loved Housewives After Dark.
You know, I mean, maybe they just decide. I feel it's weird. I'm really curious about the rollout of this one because it feels way more subdued, and I don't
Uh-huh.
think like I think it's a really entertaining uh, season, but I don't know. It feels like there's something that they're like not pushing it as hard as they could be. I don't know. Maybe it's just something in my head, but I feel like, you know, the cast members don't seem to be doing a lot of interviews except for Watch What Happens Live. And there's just
Mm-hmm.
like I'm like, what is going on? And I know Salt Lake is currently in production right now, so I'm like, maybe
Mm-hmm.
that has something to do with it. But you are going to start running into this issue because with these in which, like you were talking about earlier, of like, oh, Jen had just been sentenced and then Heather came, you
Yeah.
know, you're right on top of each other where it's really becoming even more meta in a way because now it's like, well, whatever happens in Thailand, that's going to affect this next season of Salt Lake. So there's all of
Right.
these little pieces that it's like, I just wonder if it's going to be too much at a certain point where it's going to be too saturated with it's like the Marvel universe of like, you didn't see the
Uh-huh.
TV show on Disney Plus that leads into the Ant-Man movie and that leads into this. And there's so much happening that I'm curious if there's ever any kind of downtime for these characters to actually process what happened in the previous season and how they feel about it.
Yeah, like you wonder if Heather and Whitney will refer to when we were in Thailand. Like they used to say, like they would always refer to like last time I saw her was in New York, but you're like, well, that's
Well,
because it's the reunion. Like,
I
and if
remember
they're
the
going to refer to
panel
that.
I remember the panel at BravoCon for Ultimate Girls Trip, and that was like a long time in October, and they were like not talking at that point. Like they were fighting during the panel, and Whitney was like, I will not make up with her until the gaslighting stops. And Heather was like all pissed, and Tamara was jumping
Hmm.
in, and like it was just insanity. So they really do not like each other right now. So I'll be curious because we can already see this completely falling apart right here. But at that BravoCon, all the other ladies were like, "We hope Heather and Whitney can get back to a good place because we both really like them. We all
Yeah.
really like them individually."
Well, it's interesting that, that Whitney was saying about Heather, like, you're doing all these things for like social media followers, and then you're just trying to like get clout. And then Heather is saying, like, Whitney put that Lisa Barlow giving BJ's for jazz tickets for the show. She was like, you used something for the show. And Whitney goes, we are making a show. So that's
That
true.
is See,
You
that's true,
know?
but you hear it out of her voice, and that's what I'm saying. Heather picks on Whitney because she's easy to pick on, but that's true. And by the way, Heather said that same damn line like a season or two again of like, we're filming a show. Like, Heather uses things when it's convenient for her, but then she blames people for the same things down the line, and it's usually Whitney because she views Whitney as inferior to her. Everybody else, Heather generally looks up to, but she will talk shit about them in a talking head. But it's
Mhm.
funny because like Heather idolizes these ladies. You can tell she is a fan. And I just wonder, like, do you like watching fans of Housewives as Housewives? Because I feel like they've grown up on Housewives.
Well, I think that Whitney and Heather both being fans of the show, Whitney doesn't show it quite as much as
No,
Heather
Heather, yeah,
does.
Heather wears it and she wears the
Yeah.
innocent, but it's like if 90 Day Fiance, if all of a sudden you saw one of the 90 Day Fiance people going, I love 90 Day Fiance, I can't wait to meet David and Annie, you'd be like, what? You actually wanted to be on this show? Like, you would be
Yeah.
scared. But with Housewives now, it's like, I think all of them study. I think it's like Survivor. I think they plan like ways to get at people. I think Heather collects information. Like, you see that all the time with these ladies now.
Mhm. Well, and there's nobody better than Giselle for stirring stuff up. And I really liked how they called her out last episode, this episode before, where like
The
it
reunion
seems like
or
you just ask a lot of questions because you don't want anybody to ask you questions.
oh
And I
yeah, the
was
first
like,
episode. Well, it's dead on. And the
that's a
only
good
thing is,
point.
Giselle is so camera ready.
Uh
Like,
huh.
she's a great package. Where if somebody that was lesser, of lesser that had lesser screen presence, that would really go poorly for her. Like, it doesn't already go great for Giselle, but she's able to pull it off because she's this great package of how she speaks and how she, and it kind of undercuts how potentially evil what she's doing is.
Yeah. Yeah. I did think it was a very interesting point that Giselle said Candiace is not an initiator, she's a reactor. And when you hear things like that, I'd never heard that before. I was like, is that right? You know what I mean? I've never thought of it that way, but I guess that's true.
Yeah.
She's very reactive, but maybe she's not the one jumping in to stir it up, whereas like Ashley Darby kind of is.
Yeah, no, it's amazing that Candiace and Giselle got along for the first couple of episodes to a degree for how much they hated each other in previous seasons. But Candiace is funny. It's like all of these people. I think it's like Lala Kent on Vanderpump Rules is like, Candiace really talks tough, but you can
Yeah.
make Candiace cry immediately. And she's like, she'll cut you. She's a verbal assassin, but at the same time, it all seems to come from this place of please like me. And if you don't, how
Yeah.
dare you? And I'm going to cry now.
I think it's the same with Lala. I think it comes from a place of I'm going to get you before you get me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna cut you before you cut me. I can tell it's coming, so I'm gonna verbally assassinate you first. But I don't like how Candace always goes for people's looks, even though she's hilarious. I
Well, it's
don't
TJ
like how
James
she, yeah.
Kennedy, like fat shaming people.
Oh,
I'm like, so Vanderpump's on the brain. So like, but that's like, it's these things and they never, like, I feel like they watch themselves back, but how do they not ever take anything from that? How do they not go, wow, I come off like a real ass on these shows? Like, it's weird. There's like never any kind of learning. Like there's no learning. And that's what's so funny to me is that they continually exhibit the same behavior. They're never like, wow, I came off really poorly. I've got to watch that next season.
well, did you listen to? I'm sure you did. This is a dumb question, but did you listen to Stassi's podcast after the Scandal?
I
The only,
didn't.
it's really good. I don't listen to her podcast normally, but because she was discussing it, and she was like, "I never talk about Vanderpump Rules. I never tag anything or whatever. I'm definitely away from that." She was like, "But this was like such a thing, like I had to talk about it." But she was like, what people don't realize is that if you're constantly rewarded for bad behavior, you get another season, you get paid, you get money, people think you're hilarious, you get to go on these trips. Then what are you going to do? You're going to keep doing it, especially if you're in your 20s and you've been doing it for 10 years. Talking about like Schwartz, everybody's like, he's just this lovable dope. But she's like, he's really, these are really like bad people. And
Well,
she's
so I
like,
mean, the toxicity of all, like, what happens is you become Brandy Glanville, where on the fourth season of Ultimate Girls Trip, which we already know, there's an incident with Caroline Manzo, and Caroline left early. Brandy wasn't allowed to film anymore, and Brandy's having a really tough time because she was promised to be on Beverly Hills this season, at least in a friend capacity, and she's not now, and she even tweeted last week. She was like, I was encouraged to do this behavior just like I did on season 2 of Ultimate Girls Trip. But that's the mess, is that you're encouraged in this behavior, but then something goes wrong. And I don't feel like Bravo has like a real strong plan in place for when that happens, because now Brandy's screwed herself because there's potential legalities that are going to be involved. Caroline, but at the same time, we celebrated Brandy in some of her messiest moments and really gassed her up. And so she went in probably guns blazing of like, yeah, give me more drinks. You love this stuff. And it's a fine line with not just Bravo, but with the audience. Like, because even sometimes we're like, damn, Brandy, slow it down. Like, so maybe look at the drinking a little bit, but then we'll laugh at those moments that she creates.
Well, Stassi was like, what you have to realize is you come out of this world and you leave. And she goes, and then what you realize is, oh, in real life, people don't just cheat on each other all the time. She was like, and people don't just scream at each other in restaurants. She's like, that's really just not what everyday, day-to-day life is. And she was like, I've never been so grateful to be fired from a job in my life, because now I live like a normal person. But she's like, watching all this stuff with what happened with Ariana, and she's like, Ariana and I have been cool for a long time. She says, watching all that like is so triggering and PTSD for me, because I lived like that, in that heightened sense of like, who's going to screw you over next for so long. It was very interesting to listen to somebody's take that's not trying to be thirsty about it, like Jackson Brittany. She wasn't.
Well, I mean, but Stassi. Well, not thankfully, but Stassi has her own kind of empire that's been building for a while now. So she's in a really lucky position of not having to be thirsty, like Jackson Brittany, like, oh my God, like, Stassi's already established something for herself, and it's separate than Vanderpump Rules, even though it was built on Vanderpump Rules. But everybody else reacting to this Vanderpump stuff, even including me, is just wild, because everybody's coming out of the woodworks to try to get a piece of the action and a little taste of the scandal, and it really does come off weirdly thirsty, because imagine if the horrible of horrors happen to you and you get cheated on in your life, and then imagine all your friends around you start making t-shirts, about your breakup. Like, that would be horrible. And they're doing really good with it. They're like, I got a down payment in Palm Springs. You'd be like, oh, okay, well, I'm glad something good came out of this. But it's got to be weird, because that's not real life. Like in our breakups, I've been divorced, and that nobody made a t-shirt about that. Thank God. That would have been horrible.
People are walking around town, Team Ryan, call Daryl.
or not Team Ryan, or like Boo Ryan, like it really is interesting, and I'm waiting for the pendulum to go the other way, where people are intensely sick of the Vanderpump, but it's really put such a spotlight on all these shows that we love. So Bravo, Bravo is just like reveling in it, and they're trying to put out as much as they can and add thing, go over to Peacock, go do this. And I want the overall health of the network, because I truly love these shows. But once again, it's just wild, because it just really comes from deep personal pain. And that's when these shows really take off. Like it's really good when somebody's really hurt.
Oh my God. Well, so have you watched all of Ultimate Girls Trip? Or you've watched it all? Okay.
Well, the first 4 episodes.
First 4. Okay. So I don't know what happens on 4. I'm going to be recapping it next week. I can't remember with who. I've got a slew of you wonderful Bravo podcasters coming on to help me out. The Bravo world is so great. All right. Let me ask you this. Have you heard, and if you know for sure, and you're not going to tell me on this podcast, text me later. Have you heard BravoCon's going to be in Vegas?
I have heard that. Yes.
Okay. Do you have any factual knowledge?
I mean, I haven't talked to Andy. I have not confirmed it with Andy, but no, I mean, okay. I've heard enough where I'm confident that it's going to be in Vegas, but that still could be up in the air. I mean, like, I haven't booked anything yet. If that's, I haven't booked anything yet, but I mean, I put it on my page a couple weeks ago. We did a meme that wasn't a joke meme, but word on the street was that was happening, and it's a natural.
Maybe you're where I heard it from. Maybe I heard it from you.
Maybe it's a natural fit, though. I mean, Vegas is Sin City. It has all of Vanderpump's restaurants. I mean, I loved the charm of New York. That was such a disgustingly and magical time.
Yes.
But Vegas, I could see where it would really fit. And the cool thing about Vegas is a lot of fans could come that didn't even buy a ticket to BravoCon and still be around potentially a lot of the action,
Yeah, right. Well, whatever I do, whenever it is, I'm going to be buying the highest level, most expensive VIP ticket that I can buy because going in Gen Pop was for the birds. It's for the
I
birds.
what I mean, I think I did, Jen. But I mean, like we, but then it was like you had all those parties afterwards, so it was like that was like the fun stuff for me. But what was wrong with the Jen thing? Just like it was just too crowded and stuff.
I could have used a break. I could have used a place to sit down. I
I
I
was like, I was just sitting on the floor. Like I was just like, yeah, let's just sit right here in the middle of the floor. Yeah.
I would, it was fun to just sort of walk around and like I was like, oh, there's Ryan Bailey. Oh, look, there's
It
Brian
was
Moylan.
insane. It was
Yeah,
really, really insane, but also, truly amazing. I'm so glad
it
I was
was
able to go.
me
And
too.
that's why
It was a
Vegas
good
would be
time.
cool because it would be easier for me.
Yeah.
But New York was so cool, man.
Guess who's never been to Vegas? This girl.
Oh wow, get ready. I mean, if you thought that was extreme, you're gonna Vegas is gonna knock you off your coal mining ass. It's gonna be huge.
Coal mining ass? I've
It's a
never
thing
heard
I say.
that.
It's a thing I say on the show all the time. I'm like, this is gonna knock you off your coal mining ass. I don't
Okay.
even know. I don't even know what that means truly, but
I don't either. Oh my God, that's so funny. All right, Ryan, tell everybody where they can find you and what's coming up on So Bad It's Good this week
So Bad
or
It's Good
next
with
week.
Ryan Bailey. Yeah, we do a show pretty much every day. The Vanderpump stuff has hit, and it's been like a lot of Vanderpump all the time. But we dip into a lot of other pop culture stories. We have the pop culture roundup on Monday, which we had Laguna Biatch, Kelly Williams from Beyond the Blinds. I'm trying to even. I'm so rope a doped right now, but uh, Vanderpump Rules. We do a full recap on Fridays, and those are really really fun and crazy.
Yeah.
Next week, I've got like an empath coming on about Scandival. I've got a therapist coming on
Ah,
about Scandival. So I'm trying to like look at it from
ah,
different angles. But we
yeah.
also have a lot of crazy good guests. I had Sam, one of the new cast members from Summer House, on this week. I had Trishelle from the Real World Las Vegas,
Oh
old
my
school,
gosh. Yeah, old
and I
school.
had her on, and she was just incredible. So it's always something new and something fun, or at least I consider it a blast. So yeah, it's over there if you ever want to listen to any of them. And the Instagram is So Bad It's Good with Ryan Bailey, and we're on YouTube now as well if you ever want to see the people that I'm talking to.
I'm sure everyone here is following you on Instagram, but if you're not, what are you doing with your life? But I got to tell you, Ryan, you said something very profound after the Scandal. You did an episode, and you said something. I don't know if it was on your solo or with somebody else, but you said what you realized about Tom Sandoval is he really likes people that like him.
Yeah,
And I thought that is a great point. So that is sort of why the thing with Raquel, she
yeah.
really likes him. So, and Ariana doesn't take a shit.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you're 9 years in a relationship. You've got to have it like on even footing. If you can't give your partner a little shit, then you're in the wrong relationship. But he should have been brave
Yeah.
enough to actually say that. But also, even just in like personal dealings with Tom, like I love that dude. I kissed that guy's ass. I really, really believed in that dude. Like he
Yeah.
was so personally nice to me on many occasions, and it's hard to
Yeah.
separate those two. And I
Yeah.
like, there's no joke here. It's like been really hard for me to separate because I really idolized that guy. I said, this is a guy doing something so different with his life. People make fun of
Mhm.
him for the band. People make fun of him, but then he winds up and it works. And I was like, what a
Yeah.
cool guy. And he's not a dirtbag like Jax has been in the past. And then it turns out he is the same. And it really kind of makes all of these other things that he was a part of like look less cool to me. And I was just like,
Yeah.
but listen, I was even talking on the show. I was like, I got to look inwards towards me of why I feel I need to idolize some of these people. It's just a really it's bad for business because it's just, these people are like you said, so these people are toxic. These people are
Yeah.
toxic people that do really gnarly things to each other. And we have
Mhm.
gnarly things happen in our own lives, but some of this stuff
Right.
is like, you would think, by this age, it would stop happening quite as frequently.
Well, I do recommend that you go back and listen to that episode Stassi said after the scandal. She hasn't talked about it since. She's like, I'm going to talk about this one time, and that's it. She was talking to Taylor Strucker, who's a girl that I know in New York, and she talked to Taylor about it, and they just sort of broke it down. And it was interesting to hear her point of view about it.
Well, of
Like
course.
once you're out,
She's
once you're
been,
out of it, yeah, once you're out of it,
well,
how
it's
you
just, I
see it,
mean,
yeah,
it's shocking to still be shocked by these shows. And I think that's why this is so
yeah,
crazy, is because we're still like this. drop my jaw, and I deal with this. I deal with these shows every day like you do. And this one really was like, wait, what? Like, I didn't believe it. Just still that I remember just going, no. And then I was like, oh shit. And then I got word from somebody and I was like, oh wow. And
Yeah.
it really blew me away. And that says something in this day and age for all the horrible things we see on reality television, you know?
Totally. Totally. Well, you guys, make sure you listen to Ryan and make sure you listen to his recap on Friday of Vanderpump Rules, because it's always good and it always has these little nuggets in it where you're like, But now that you're going to talk to an empath and a therapist, like, who knows what kind of nuggets you're going to come up with?
Yeah,
My gosh.
it's we needed to class up the joint a little bit, you know?
That's right. That's right. Well, thank you, Ryan, and I will talk to you soon. And guys, follow us on Instagram too. Pink Shade Pod.
Hi, guys.